Okay, it is 2:30 on the dot, and so we are going to get started. I'm Haley Bacher. I am the communications director here at RICS, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's panel discussion that we're really, really excited to hold. We think it's going to be a really valuable conversation. As many of you know, RICS is a POS and inventory management platform for independent retailers, and we work with thousands of retailers just like you who face all sorts of challenges on a daily basis. If there's one thing we know from working with all of our retail partners, it's that you guys are really busy people, and you're often required to wear so many different hats as business owners. And we here at RICS have really made it a mission of ours to do our best at creating learning opportunities to serve as a resource to help all of you and make your jobs just a little bit easier. So in our work with all of you, we know that one of the biggest challenges plaguing the industry today is that of retail employee retention. And so that's why we wanted to really focus on that topic for today's webinar. And it seems that it's getting worse. In an economy with record low unemployment and rising wages, the retail industry, full of mostly part-time employees, is up against a lot. And I'm sure that's something that a lot of you can relate with. And if it's any indication that this is a really relevant conversation, all you need to do is read the news or take note that this is our most highly attended webinar to date. So it seems to be something that's really resonating with all of you, and we're happy you're joining the conversation. We know that issues with your employees are time consuming. They're not as straightforward as some of the other things you guys are facing on a day-to-day basis. And because they're so personal, they're typically the ones that are keeping you up at night. And so to discuss this topic and get after some actionable ways that you can overcome the challenges around hiring, training, and retaining an awesome team, we've brought together 3 independent retailers today who have been in the game for some time and have some really awesome key learnings and best practices to share. So we've invited them here today to have a conversation with us about their own unique takes on how to deal with people problems and get after solving some of the challenges that face this industry. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our 3 panelists. We're so happy that they're joining us for this discussion. And I'm going to introduce them now. So Brian Jones is the first one. He's the co-owner of Playmakers, a footwear and apparel store in Okemos, Michigan. They also have a mission of helping customers increase their fitness levels. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Adam Van Slyke is also here. He's a footwear retail planner for Fleet Feet Sports. He's based in Carrboro, North Carolina, where they're headquartered. Thanks for being here, Adam.
Thank you.
And then Lisa Brickenbach is the owner of Heyday Boutique. It is a lifestyle boutique located in Bozeman, Montana. So thank you also for being here, Lisa.
Thank you.
Cool. So I want to start the conversation just by asking the 3 of you to talk a little bit about your unique brands. I think for the purpose of today's conversation, it would be really great to hear a little bit about your business, your customers, and your team. So Brian, let's start with you.
Sure. So yeah, Playmakers is located in a college town, Okemos, Michigan, just outside of East Lansing near Michigan State University. The store has evolved over many, many years, founded in 1981. We're currently in a kind of a historical building, and we have over 20,000 square feet of retail, office, we just added a community center, and then storage on site as well. A lot of people know us as a run specialty store, but we're much more than that, and that we carry a lot of lifestyle brands, a lot of comfort brands, and then outdoor brands as well. So we are kind of this unique, one-of-a-kind store in our market and in a little bit in the industry too, to be such a, I guess, a larger format run specialty. Running is at the heart and soul of our business, and we're deeply involved in our local community.
Cool. And then I will pass it over to Lisa to go second.
Okay, so Heyday is a lifestyle boutique in Bozeman, Montana. We have an online store and 2 shops. We We offer home and personal accessories, and our customers come to us primarily for gift giving. Oftentimes it ends up being a gift to yourself. We've been in business for 11 years this fall. Our team is made up of 16 people, ages ranging 20 to 75, men and women, and 5 of us have been with the business for more than 9 years. So our customers are mostly locals, but we get a lot of tourists in the summer and now in even the shoulder season.
Cool. And then Adam, if you'd like to add in your overview as well.
Yeah, so I work for Fleet Feet, which is based out of Carborough, North Carolina. We've been around for over 40 years, and we have 170 plus locations around the nation. Most of our stores are individually franchised, so they're individually owned, but we do have a group of corporately owned company stores that also have managers, operating partners in place running the day-to-day operations there. And our customers tend to shop at multiple Fleet Feet stores. They have a local store, but then when they're on vacation, they're shopping at the Fleet Feet store where they vacation. So our customers tend to seek out our stores all across the country.
Cool. So kind of getting back to one of the things I did to kick off this conversation is mention just the changing retail landscape. And I think that's something that a lot of us are familiar with. But one of the pieces that I think will come into the conversation today is the fact that consumer choice and expectation has really spurred a retail renaissance that we're hearing so much about. That puts a premium on the shopper and his or her shopping experience. So I wanted to hear from each of you just your perspective on how this change has affected your needs when it comes to the employees that you're hiring to work in your store. I'm going to start with Lisa, and then Adam and Brian, feel free to jump in as well.
Okay, so can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so as you guys all know now, we are the newest and smallest of all 3 of the panelists. And for us, the change hasn't been drastic because it's really all we've ever known. And so really the customer experience is always first. And we didn't have the opportunity to know what that was like when that wasn't the case years ago.
Cool.
Yeah, so at Fleet Feet, we pride ourselves in being storytellers. So we look for individuals that want to help, outfit a customer and provide solutions, not just, sell products. So that's kind of what we look for in an employee. We want to enhance that shopping experience and, never come across as just, selling a widget here or there. We're helping customers with solutions.
Yeah, I think you're going to see we parallel Adam in a lot of ways in terms of our culture, and the customer focus is deeply rooted in our culture and something that is just a given. And a lot of our employees will come to us, not to jump ahead, but as customers that have experienced our culture and experienced our level of service and care for the customer. And so we're fortunate in that regard that I think we've been able to, over the years, set the bar high and then find people that want to be part of that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and one that we will return to later when we talk about culture and when we talk about how we really attract the right type of employees. I think that really parlays our next question really well. One of the things that a lot of you who are joining will know is that we asked you on the upfront if you had any questions that you wanted us to answer today during this panel discussion. So this question comes from an audience member, and it really gets after the characteristics of a high-performing retail employee and what each of you really look for in the people that you're hiring. So, Adam, do you want to start on that one?
Sure, I'd love to. I think we look for individuals that have passion for in our case, the running industry, that have passion for fitness, that have a passion for retail and for helping people, like I said before, provide find solutions for their problems. We also look for individuals that are going to elevate other people around them, whether it's through their knowledge and experience or just through motivation, their eagerness to learn, their willingness to get on board with store initiatives and company initiatives, and people that will help support and display, I guess that's the best word to say, our company values and our mission statement.
Awesome. Brian, Lisa, anything to add there?
Yes, so, team players, and again, Adam did a great job of starting as well, and I would agree with all of those items as well. But, people that want to be part of a team, that they're not individuals. We're not about, check the ego at the door in our environment. That we want, again, people that want to be part of something special and to help make those around them better, and really a synergistic environment.
And I would add too, we talk about the same things that you guys have all been talking about too, yet we also add in a piece about people who love people who love to be around people who love to help people, because retail is all about being with people and in the business and our customers. So you really have to enjoy making someone's day.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I think about my own shopping experiences and the types of stores that I am attracted to and want to shop in. And I think you can tell when someone really loves their job and when someone connects with others and loves helping. And I think, as an avid follower of, the retail industry and media outlets, this experience is something that you really can't ignore. It's really the reason that the brick and mortar experience is continuing to outperform e-commerce, even though it's more of a holistic experience. I think people are drawn to those types of relationships. So I love everything that you guys added in terms of who you're looking for from a high-performing retail employee standpoint. So I think that kind of leads us into our next question about how you attract those types of people. You each talked a little bit about your unique culture, but how do you recruit those people? How do you attract them? How do you find the right employees and make them want to work for you? Brian, let's start with you.
Yeah, so in a lot of cases, it's that there's a connection to the store already. They could be a customer, they could be part of one of our training programs. And we're fortunate, again, we mentioned we're in a college town. Quite often people will land in our backyard with a spouse, and one might be going to school, a graduate program. And so, people will hear about us, but it's rare. The rare person just comes in on, an online type job application process. I mean, in most cases, there's a connection already, some type of referral or word of mouth to the store. And then the other thing that we'll do, we do 2 big events a year, big sales. We'll bring people in and test them, and both of them are 4 or 5 day sales, and we'll get a chance to look at them and see if the fit's right. So that's something that's worked out really well over the years.
Cool. I love that. Lisa and Adam, feel free to join in as well.
We do a bit of the same thing. Our best employees do come from our customer base. And so we always advertise our employment opportunities on our Instagram feed. And we get a lot of response from that because the person already knows what we do. And then we're sort of self-weeding out people who wouldn't be interested in a job at AA.
Cool.
Yeah, we do similar things as Brian and Lisa do. We also ask our current staff members to help us find great employees. They may have a friend, a running partner, a family member who may be interested in working for Fleet Feet. Some of our store locations, they'll incentivize their current employees to help them find new staff members. And if that new hire is still around in 6 months, there may be a financial kickback for helping, quote unquote, discover or recruit that new person. So that seems to help well. But like Brian and Lisa, most of our employees are, customers. They're part of our training programs, or they're, a mentor or coach in our training programs.
Yeah, definitely. I think that speaks to the power of creating a community and creating brand advocates who someday could become a team member. So continuing on this path of talking about recruiting and bringing on the right type of team, this is another audience question, and I think it's a great one. I want to make a quick note that if a question comes up in your mind, or you have something that you'd love the panelists to discuss that they don't get to, during our conversation, that you feel it hasn't been covered, feel free to type that question into your chat or Q&A box on your webinar screen, and we'll try to get to those towards the end. But this is another audience question. When it comes to hiring, is it better to hire someone without a lot of experience and train them? Or do you guys feel as though hiring someone who's a lot more experienced but comes with higher pay expectations is the way to go? Adam, let's start with you.
I think we like to train our staff kind of in the Fleet Feet way, to kind of instill those mission and core values from the beginning. We're never going to turn our nose up at someone with experience, but if they're, I guess if I'd have to choose one or the other, I'd probably say, someone who is, really open to learn and easily trainable. You probably go that route.
I want to, before we move on to Lisa and Brian, because I really want to hear what they have to say as well, I want to ask, because I know that a lot of our customers are in the run specialty category. Do you feel, Adam, like the run specialty industry has higher expectations in terms of someone coming in with with a lot of past knowledge or experience? Do you think that sets run specialty apart a little bit, or do you feel like it's all the same?
I think, Brian can probably talk about this as well. The people that want to work for Playmakers or work for Fleet Feet usually have, a passion for running and for fitness. So they have, past experiences already kind of, built in. They would rather work for, Playmakers or Fleet Feet than, work at the grocery store chain down the street, because they're a little more passionate about, running than they are about cereal, maybe. Not to say that it's bad to work at the grocery store, but that's most of our customers come to us because they have that passion for running. Excuse me.
Brian, I'll toss it over to you to talk about this.
Again, we align with Adam. So much of it is the passion, and if someone is already in that community, maybe as an event director or a volunteer or a coach or a trainer, it's already aligning with our type of environment, and the likelihood of success is just much greater. And we talk too internally that at times people will trade, flexibility in our environment, and that's something that we build in too, or pay. So as much as we think sometimes it's about pay, we can create the right culture, the right environment. People love being part of something positive, and that's what we really try to work at is how can we keep investing and developing our staff and putting money back into our community and being at events in the community.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that really quick before Lisa answers. I'm sure Brian's the same as me. Every time I'm at an event that's wrapped around running, I'm talking to the volunteers, the workers, the participants, the people running the event, and that's a great way to find employees. I'm not necessarily fishing for employees, but it's great to talk to these people, because you never know who might be interested in joining your team, who might have a friend, a family member, someone looking for a position in our industry. So that's a great way to find people, is just being out in the community and out in events that are in your industry.
Okay, so back to me for a minute. I want to just say that we absolutely hire people who do not have retail experience. In the past, it's been harder to undo training than it is to actually train someone who's totally fresh. So getting those fresh eyes and new perspective and being able to explain our brand and style has been essential for training a great candidate.
Cool. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that we got a ton of questions about. And I always see these types of questions pop up on different message boards and Facebook communities and things like that. It's about this idea of building a schedule. And I wanted to give each of you a chance to talk about if you have any formulas for building a schedule that works for you. There are lots of different questions that come up: how you determine the ideal shift length for your employees, and are there any processes or tools that you could recommend? Lisa, you want to start in terms of talking about how this works for Heyday and kind of what approach you take?
Yeah, sure. We use a platform called Humanity that organizes everyone's shifts, and we can plan far in advance. And actually, that really seems to work well for us. Right now, we're 3 months out, so our college students can plan around their Heyday schedule. And we know, after that schedule gets published, they are free to change shifts as they need. And that flexibility has been really well received. And again, the philosophy is that if everyone's shifts at Heyday fit into their outside lives, they're going to enjoy coming to work a bit more. And that's really what we want to be shooting for. Our shift length for our store, because it's just a busy, fast-paced store. A shorter shift tends to be a bit more effective for everyone. Our employees don't leave totally drained, and we still get them enthusiastic and happy during the entire shift. So those are a few of the things that we think about when we're scheduling.
Cool. I'll toss it over to Adam.
Don't have a whole lot more to add there. Most Fleet Feet stores use a thing called when to work is what most stores use for scheduling. We tend to give some of our staff members some time off the floor. Sometimes a 6 to 8 hour shift on the busy floor, like Lisa said, can be a little bit overwhelming. So if we have some other tasks, we can put a staff member on for a half an hour just to give them a little bit of a break seems to work well. And then often making sure we have enough employees on the floor so staff members aren't overwhelmed and stressed.
I'll jump in, and like Adam, we use When to Work. That's worked out. It's been a really, really good platform. Just, technology is a theme that is becoming more and more important to our business, and it's nice when you can have that schedule out and clear shifts as well. If someone's not able to work, they can post their shift. And again, like Lisa and Adam, we try to set these shifts up so that they fit the busy lifestyles and other activities that a lot of our part-time and even our full-timers have. So our shifts could start as small as 3 hours. And, a busy Saturday, you don't have to work an entire day to be valuable to us. A lot of people, again, it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. And 8 hours on the floor on a, busy Saturday can take its toll on people. So, we are flexible in that regard. And then the other thing that we'll do, since everything happens for our business essentially under one roof, we'll have even our buyers and our marketing team, everyone has a responsibility to the floor, and we'll put people on call so that when you have those waves come through the store and you need 2, 3, 4 extra people to jump out and help, there's people behind the scenes that can do that.
That's great. Really feels like a team effort when everyone is involved like that. Let's shift again to talk about this topic of training. I'd like to hear, each of your perspectives on how important employee training is for your business, and if you have any tips or tricks or strategies that you can share in terms of what's worked for you. Brian, do you want to start this one?
Sure, yeah. So we've got I would say a fairly extensive training process to onboard people for the sales floor. And it'll take 3 to 4 weeks before they are actually on their own. And we'll have them meet with someone from all the different departments of the store. We'll have them do follow shifts and, really get a flavor for what we're about, and as well as the culture of the business. And part of that too is just timing with people's schedule, but we do try to bring in multiple people at the same time. So those training sessions, those sessions for that. And then we'll do things ongoing. We have staff meetings every Wednesday. And I know Adam brought this up the other day. We do a pre-opening meeting each morning where we have a chance to, touch base with our staff as well, on items that are important to the business. So, it's really ongoing. It's taking place all the time. And then we do use a tool that we're experimenting with called Litmus. And then within our staff meetings, we have developed what we call our Playmakers Lab. And all of our staff members are required to attend those lab sessions. And these are going to be a little more technical and get into the nuances of the product and the mechanics of shoe fitting.
Cool. Lisa, Adam, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, training is critical to get an employee to not only understand our internal culture, but the work that we need to do with our customers every day. And we are so much smaller, but we do have a checklist sort of arrangement where the new employee goes through each of the tasks and then meets with all of the departments and not only gets to know the team, but also gets to know the process. So as they go through that process, questions are absolutely part of the deal. And we do believe the more training we can do on the front end, the better it is in the long run. We also do staff meetings on Wednesday mornings, and that's another opportunity to train further. New product comes in, and we use those times, which are mandatory, to review new systems and new product, and celebrate each other, and just generally get together and learn new things. So all of those things together comprise the training program, and it's ongoing. We're always learning new things, and that's one of our important values. So yeah.
And we at Fleet Feet do a lot of the same things that, excuse me, Brian and Lisa talked about. We have a position on staff at each store, if the store chooses to have this position, of a retail experience manager. That person is often the store owner, but sometimes it's another key employee, a key staff member that is tasked with staff training, basically. And they're in charge of rolling out initiatives, making sure staff members are teched on new incoming products, make sure that certain cross sales those sections of the store are meeting their sales goals, things like that.
Cool. So another thing that we've talked about quite a bit just through the conversation so far is just turnover. The retail industry has a lot of it. And I want to ask each of you just how do you incentivize employees to stay? What are the types of things that you do to make it the type of place where people want to work? Adam, I'll toss it over to you first.
Cool. We try to take our best outfitters and empower them and elevate their position in the store. So whether that's more responsibility, a different title is also, something to keep them motivated. But I think we try to get a good idea of what that staff member's goals are. Maybe this is just a part-time, opportunity for them, or maybe it's something they want to move into a career in the running industry. I'm sure, Brian has had employees that have moved on to be tech reps, to be sales reps, or to work in the industry. So if we have a staff member that's interested in that, we want to do everything we can to, help them grow as an individual, as a professional, to help reach their goals. And even if it's not with our store, with one of our locations, we think we can utilize them and train them to be a better employee all around. I think that's really important. Showing, that you care about someone's long-term goals, I think helps with retention.
That's great. Lisa, over to you.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything Adam has said. And we try to make sure that all of our teammates are doing the things that they're really great at and that they like doing. So, 3 months in, they've pretty much got the sales stuff down, and it's time to start discussing which sort of focus area they'd like to either learn more about or help with, so that there's some attention to improving and learning and growing within the business, and likewise outside of the business in a further career move. I think all of those things really make everyone feel happy in their day-to-day work in our business.
And again, we're very similar to Lisa and Adam in that staff development is super important to us, and sales can be tough if that's all our staff does. So we really work hard to find other things where people have an interest, and maybe it's personal goals or just a passion, and they might be able to assist a buyer or work on our event side of the business or the marketing side of the business as a portion of their work week. And I think when we do that, when we give them something that can be theirs or that they can contribute to, they feel like they're part of the bigger picture and they're contributing at a higher level. And that's kind of been at our culture for years and years. Our founder was always really good at taking people to the trade shows. So we'll do a lot of things like that so that they can see that this can be a career and it's not just a stopping point. Another thing we do is staff retreats, and we're big on the Stephen Covey 7 habits in our culture and within our training. So we're really, I think we've been fortunate over the years to give people some really good skills. And as Adam mentioned, we've had multiple people go on within the industry and use Playmakers as kind of a springboard to those jobs. And for some individuals, retail may not be where they want to be or even staying in the industry, but hopefully when they leave, we've given them something that is valuable. And we do some long-term incentive benefits as well with 401k plan and things of that nature that certainly help, but it's not the only reason we're able to retain people.
That's great. You touched upon something, Brian, that actually one of our audience members typed in ahead of time to ask about. And it's this idea that they asked about this theme that they've seen of younger generations being motivated by feeling like they're making a difference and having an impact in the work they do. And so they asked about this strategy of having more of an open book policy and bigger picture policy with employees to share some of those numbers, be open about how different employees are contributing. So I wondered if you guys could speak about this a little bit, and if you have been doing this, share your learnings, or if it's been working, or if you haven't done it yet, why not? And just your thinking there. Does anyone want to jump in and start?
Yes. So in terms of sharing more, I guess the business side of it, we would do that, I'm going to say a little more from 10,000 feet, where we might share a pie that would show the breakdown of all of the costs of the business, starting with that biggest slice of the cost of goods sold, payroll, and all the different components of what it takes to run a business, right down to the credit card processing fees at roughly 2% of our business. And there'd be a wedge left over that in theory is potentially profitability, but then there's a tax component that's got to be paid, and then investing back in the community as well. But I think it helps to give them the big picture, but we haven't gone so far is to share financial statements with our team. We do would be a really small group.
A lot of our store owners like to share daily sales goals, and those sales goals tend to be, last year's that day's sales from the previous year with, growth built in, and, posting that weekly, daily, or monthly sales goal, I think keeps the staff members a little more invested in the business, and just keeps them not just motivated, but I think sharing in the success, like a common goal that we're all kind of striving for.
Yeah, so we are very transparent about our sales numbers, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. But again, we do take a big picture approach to understanding what the sales really mean. And I recently went to a seminar on open book, and I believe it could work for a business of my size, maybe bigger, but I haven't put it into practice just yet.
Cool. Let's talk a bit about tracking and rewarding employee performance. How do you guys do this? How do you approach this? And do you have any ways or tools or things that have worked for you in terms of this piece? Lisa, you want to start?
Sure. So we get together with each employee after 3 months, and we consider that a coffee chat. It's a time to review training and just generally check in on job satisfaction. So we talk about where we need more training and what this employee wants to be doing more of, and then the performance reviews are a little bit more, they're longer term. So maybe at 6 months we would jump into that with a sales employee, because again, it feels like they need more reinforcement, positive or not, more frequently. And that feedback has, that opportunity to give some feedback is really valuable. We give a bonus at the end of each month when we hit our sales goal for everyone on the team. So it's commensurate with the hours each of us has worked, and so that's a good way to join together as a team to celebrate our success.
Brian, you want to jump in?
Yeah, similar to Lisa, we try to, our goal is to do valuations twice a year, and then we try to sit down in the interim as well. And this is something that we feel that the team's done really well. It used to be one individual that headed up our human resources to try to meet all of our staff, and he realized that it was just too overwhelming. So we've empowered more of our younger staff, and we do it as teams. We assign staff members for them to mentor, and then we'll address that sometimes prior to those points, but the compensation level that they're at, and the benefits packages, some of that is all dictated by hours worked, full-time status, part-time status, for now even the government and with the new healthcare reform. But it's something we're constantly looking at, and I would say it's probably one of the hardest things that any business has to do in terms of how just valuing employees and making everybody feel that their contributions are valuable. But sometimes employees want to talk about this too, and it can create hard feelings if someone's. But we certainly work really hard to be fair and to be competitive, and to meet the goals of our individual staff members within certain reasons.
Yeah, we do a lot of the same things. We do performance reviews twice a year, sometimes even shorter time frames. We take a look at employees, their sales goals, their sales numbers, and we set goals for the next performance period to try to follow up and work on those things. Other things we do just to kind of reward performance besides raises and bonuses is, and this kind of goes along with growing store culture is, sometimes store members or store owners will take a handful of Starbucks gift cards and hand them out to the staff, and then that staff member needs to kind of find someone that's doing something extra positive, something a little bit noteworthy, and give them that card to kind of say, hey, I saw you do this with this customer, great job there, that thanks for helping display one of our core values or mission, and just something a little extra there, I think what helps with morale and just positivity in the group.
That's great. So one of the, oh, sorry, was someone jumping in? No. One of the things that we got a bunch of questions about, and I think continues to be another kind of hotly discussed topic across this theme, is just this idea of fair pay. And lots of people are interested. We got some questions from the audience on this topic. Wondering if you guys can share your opinions on salary versus hourly pay for your retail employees, as well as potentially hourly versus commission, or hourly with incentive for if employees reach their goals versus just commission all the way through. So yeah, wondering if you guys can touch on that for a moment, fair pay and what your how you approach this. Brian, you want to start?
Sure, yeah. I'll start with the hourly versus salary, because it's interesting. It's really evolved. 30 years ago, there were a lot more employees that were on salary than we have today. And maybe this is unique to millennials, where for some reason in our culture, they seem to like being paid hourly, and they like the fact that if they have a big event in the store and the hours ramp up, that they're rewarded immediately for that, as opposed to maybe that consistent compensation throughout the year. And then what we'll do to try to smooth things out for the real superstars and those that are most committed to the business, we do 2 seasonal performance bonuses, and those kind of coincide with the mid-year points of our business and kind of the seasonality of the business. So we'll do one of those. Technically, I guess it's in February, so we kind of flow through the holidays. We do a big sale event in January, and then we'll do another one at kind of the end of the summer sales season. It would end in July, and we would do that in August. But again, it's kind of unique to our culture. I'm not sure why, but again, we've got a lot of people that prefer that hourly compensation.
Oops, I did not mean to do that. I flipped through the slides unknowingly, so please ignore me. I'm going to push this back up to full screen. In the meantime, Lisa, can you touch upon this idea of fair pay, salary versus hourly, hourly versus commission? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So we've worked hard to understand what fair pay looks like in our community, and it's really tricky. I talk to other retailers in my area and try to get a sense of what the competitive rates are. And we want to stay ahead of that and try to make sure that our employees feel well compensated. And we do not work on commission. No one gets commission here. And it just doesn't fit with our culture. And as far as salary versus hourly, we'll only have 3 people who are salaried at the moment, and that seems to be appropriate for now. And because our shifts are shorter and we have a lot of, we like to have a lot of teammates to shift, to work with that flexibility. A lot of our sales team only works 20 hours a week or even sometimes less. So it doesn't make sense to have someone on a salary at that level. So that's where we land on this issue.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Adam, anything to add from your perspective?
Nothing new. I think because Fleet Feet has so many locations in different parts of the country, this question and conversation comes up a lot in our when we have our group conference from our store owners, where you have someone store owner out west that their city may have a mandatory minimum wage of $20 an hour, or that their town is looking, or city is looking to go that route. How do they get their employees and still be fully staffed to that that amount. So it's definitely a challenge. But yeah, not much else to add other than what Brian and Lisa said. I think they covered it.
Cool. So we just have 2 more questions before we wrap up. If you feel as though you have a question that hasn't been addressed, feel free to add this into the question or chat box. Otherwise, I want to toss it over to you guys to talk about culture a little bit. And, a lot has been said in terms of how you create a great team and how you attract the right team. But I just wanted to bring it back to this for a second and talk about, any tips you guys have in terms of your culture and what you feel like you do that makes your store, your retail operation kind of stand out. Brian, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, and building a little bit on what Lisa commented about, we try to overhire and have this bench of employees that can share the load, so that retail can be tough, and people are so busy, and just especially the millennials, and I think in general, people wanna, they want to work, but they also want to go to a concert. They want to go to the weddings. They want to go to, football games, whatever, they want to be out at the events, whatever those passions are. And so we've realized that we have to have a lot of part-timers. This recent payroll, we had over 100 people on the payroll. And, some of them are working as few as maybe 3 hours a week as a coach, but they're an important part of the business. And so for us, so that we don't burn people out, if we're able to retain people, we really have to build in this flexibility and have this big team. And then, we try to do a lot of fun things in the store, and certainly it's an environment of inclusiveness. If we have a kickball team or some fun activity, everybody's invited. Well, certainly everyone can't join in, but we want to just build that trust. We want to build that fun in, and have people, when they come to work, feel good about it. That this is one of the, again, whether they're part-time or a full-timer, that this is a highlight of their day. And if we take care of our staff, they're going to take care of the customer on the front end.
Yeah, I think just to chime in here, I think that's so true. I think, like I said earlier, as a consumer, you can tell the different stores or the different employees who really like where they work. And so I think, across all industries, you want to create the type of environment where people want to come to work every day. But I think one of the things that is so unique about retail is that oftentimes your employees are the face of your brand, and it really reflects poorly on your store if they're not happy to be there, or if they're not invested. And so I think that's such a great shout out that really is unique to the retail industry. Lisa, anything to add?
I would just say I think we've all mentioned at one time or another during this talk is that culture is really so important, and it's what's going to set our retail industry apart, and apart from the internet as our biggest competitor, even though we're going to have to compete in that range too. So, the culture has to feel authentic, and what we do to create that authentic feeling of culture is super important. And it's all the things that everyone has mentioned. Getting outside of the business and doing things together that the team likes to do. Going across the street to grab a cup of coffee together with someone you don't work with closely. We also work on personality tests so that we get to know each other on sort of a more, I don't know how to describe it, but from the test, we get to know each other in a different way. And that seems to help too. So, it's a big deal.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll echo all the same things. I think, you take care of your people and your people will take care of your business. That's all I have to say about that. I think that kind of sums it all up.
Yeah.
I was just going to jump back in because Lisa, you hit on the personality test. So we do one too, and I think we did it the first time, I guess 15 years ago, and we were with our founder at the time. And I have 2 business partners, and the 4 of us, there's 4 colors. The one we do, we were all different. And, you're like, oh, this is pretty interesting in that we complement each other instead of, fighting with each other. And then when certain things happen and whether it's an employee or the business partners do things a certain way, it's like, okay, that makes sense. That's his personality. He's not. So I think that's been probably one of the most helpful things that we've done over the years is this. It's a pretty simple one that we do that has 4 different colors and puts you in 4 different areas. And then you appreciate those differences, because if I can focus more on my area of strength, or our employees can, and those around them complement them, they don't have to do the things they don't need to do. And ultimately, right, if we're synergistic and complement each other, we're going to be a really unique and successful culture and ultimately business.
That's great. Thank you, all of you, for your answers on that. I thought that's great. So I just want to round out with one question that is not so focused on employees and team and training, but a lot of this conversation, we started by kicking off talking about just the changes in the industry, the changes in our economy that have made finding great people and retaining them harder than maybe it has been in the past. And this theme of creating an experience in your store, and the fact that that's more important than ever, those are 2 big trends that we're seeing right now that are really topical. But I just kind of wanted to end, you guys are all retail experts in your own right. You have really interesting, successful businesses that are all different in different ways. And I'm interested in just hearing from each of you about your opinion on, in the next 5 years, what do you anticipate one of the biggest changes in the retail industry to be? And just hearing what you think about that. So Adam, let's start with you.
I think I'm going to go with wages and compensation and employee retention. Many of us are tied to, MSRP prices for our goods that we sell. It's difficult to raise those prices. A restaurant can, raise the cost of their dishes to kind of, help that bottom line. We're a little our hands tied a little bit in that regard. So I think that's going to be a challenge for us is figuring out ways to generate revenue, to keep our best employees on staff, and to pay them a fair living wage.
Lisa?
So I would take a bit of a different tact in that, and in that I totally agree with that issue that we have to face in the next 10 years or so, or more. But the idea of the internet as our biggest competitor, or how do we use the internet in our, and I'm smaller than you guys, and we have to find a way to compete in that way. And I think it's just a really big challenge for small retailers today. Not undoable, but certainly a challenge. And I think it's essential to stay relevant and interesting and creative to our customers.
Anything to add, Brian?
I certainly agree with Lisa and Adam. I mean, finding great people, retaining great people, and as the costs of our business rise, that it's not going to get any easier. And certainly there's parts of the country where it's extremely challenging. We're maybe a little fortunate in the Midwest, and being in college towns, it's a little easier to find people from my experience. But I would say the other one is keeping up with technology. Things are changing so fast right now. And there's so much technology out there that can be helpful to our business, but it's hard to dedicate the resources to that and find the time to do that with all the other just day-to-day activities that a business owner faces. But there's some great things happening out there, and we referenced a couple of them. With like when to work, and we're using a scheduling program, schedule space in the store, because we have a community space called SCEDA. But these are popping up, by the day, and a lot of them apply to our businesses, and we don't even know they're out there. And certainly just managing our inventories, and Rick's is our partner there, and I think they're going to continue to evolve as well, and hopefully help us with this e-commerce solution. We need a better e-commerce solution and an easier e-commerce solution. So that, in general, technology is going to be a challenge for us in a lot of different ways.
There's a great quote that I heard, believe it is, technology and retail have never changed this fast, and they'll never change this slow moving forward. So yeah, I think Brian definitely hit the nail on the head there. Technology is going to continue to change. Retail is going to continue to change, and at a faster pace than we've experienced in the past 5 years. So great point, Brian.
Yeah, I think that's a great quote. So just before we go, we have gotten one question from the audience. We have just a few minutes before we wrap, so I want to give each of the panelists a chance to answer this. It's about turning around employees who tend to have a more difficult personality. They're wanting to know what type of tips do you guys have for dealing with certain difficult personalities, or maybe negative attitudes if you've had to deal with those in the past. Even given your culture that you're creating and potential incentives or bonuses that you're offering. Anyone have any advice here?
I would just say address it as quick as you can, which we're not always very good at it, but I think you have to lay the expectations and clarify how your culture works. And if someone's not, if they're toxic to your culture, you got to address it right away, because it's not a good thing when it happens. But address it as quickly as you can, and make it clear what's important to your culture and what kind of the standards are of your business. Tied back to your mission statement as well.
Yeah, I agree. Trying to get to the bottom of it as quickly as possible. If you've invested, time and money to train this employee, they're obviously valuable to you. So, you want to take the time and try to get to the bottom of it. Try to come at them in an obviously non-confrontational way. Just, maybe there's something else going on in their personal life, in their home life, at school, at their other job, that's affecting their, performance at your store. And just try to to come as a friend first, and you know, also of course as an employer. But yeah, like Brian said, try to put out that fire as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I would say sometimes we're too humanitarian. We want, you know, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But Adam's point that I really like is super important, is because we've had someone that was going through some tough situations at home last year, and it's like, what's going on here? And, you know, we had to take a deep breath and say, okay, we got to give this individual a little space, and it turned around. But you know, if someone's going through, let's just say, a divorce or something at home, it surfaces at work, unfortunately, or it can.
Yeah, and so I'll just jump in and say I agree that it does tend to be outside of business that ends up being the thing that is causing the negativity or difficulty, and hitting it quick, getting information, and also suggesting that in the most respectful way that behavior doesn't meet your culture, and then visiting again, maybe more frequently to watch the progress. But it's tricky.
Definitely. Cool. So we're just about at time. I want to thank our three panelists for joining. Thanks to all of you who joined in as well. This webinar recording will be shared with each of you. So lots of great tips and stuff shared here. So definitely feel free to look back at it when you feel like some of these problems are arising. But thank you so much, Brian and Lisa and Adam, for joining us. I think this was a really great conversation. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for including us.
Yeah, thanks, Brian and Lisa. Appreciate it. Nice meeting with you.
Nice to meet you.
Lisa too. Got to come visit you guys now.
Right.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a great week.